Okay, let's go back and talk a little bit about spot bowling, what it really can do for you, what the reasons for it are. Is because as I travel around the country and teach beginning bowlers, even some advanced bowlers, they come up to me and one of the common questions they ask is, why should I spot bowl? What good does it do me? And I'll give you a couple of good reasons what it's all about. And first I'll give you a little history of what exactly the rangefinders are, or as we call them, the arrows, what they do for you. Now the history of the rangefinders was that before they were invented or put on the lanes, which is about 50 years ago, people had to pick out a dark or a light board on the lane and use that as their target, which is very difficult when you're standing 15 to 18 feet behind the foul line and beginning your approach, especially in the old days when they had very poor lighting. When the new modern centers now, with the ultra-modern equipment, it's much easier to pick out your target, and you can pick a spot between the rangefinders or actually use the rangefinders. Now what the spot bowling really does for you is you pick your target on the lane, one of the rangefinders, normally the second arrow for most bowlers, especially beginners, is that it gives you a target that's only 15 feet away rather than a target that is clear down the lane, 60 feet from you, which is as far as the head pin is from the foul line. It's very difficult to hit a target that far away consistently. It's very easy, by comparison, to hit a target that's only 15 feet away. So you can be much more consistent. It does a multitude of other good things for you also, such as keeping your head down because the target is closer, it's directly in front of you. As you make your shot, your head stays down, and it gives you a more consistent release, a more consistent follow-through for a better roll, and naturally, more strike power. I know that some of you have noticed throughout the program that I'm wearing what we call a wrist support on my hand. And the reason, multiple reasons for wearing these things, and a lot of the players on our tour wear them, and a lot of the higher average bowlers, and a lot of the beginners wear them. And the reason for wearing one of these is it helps you keep your wrist and your hand in the proper position throughout delivery. There are a great many different kinds of these things on the market. Some of them won't let you move your wrist at all. Some of them give you a little flexibility. Some of them have straps across your hand. Some don't. Some of them go way up your arm. Some of them go on even down into your fingers in areas like that. Some are like a glove. Some fit only on the wrist. But they all try to do one specific thing. That's to put your hand in the proper position at release. I would recommend to the average bowler and the beginning bowler that you do try to use one of these to develop what we call muscle memory, which creates the feeling of having your hand and your wrist in the proper position for a good firm release. It helps you to do that, especially the ladies and the younger bowlers. Let's talk a little bit about the mental side of the game and talk about what it's like to bowl under pressure and what causes different people to react in different situations or the same situation, maybe one better than the other, even though they may be, you might consider equal physically as far as throwing the bowling ball is concerned. Some people can just handle it a little better than others, and the reason they can handle it better, I think, is because they're prepared better physically. And if you're prepared better physically than the other person is, you've developed muscle memory. Now, muscle memory is when you can get up to the foul line and throw a perfect shot, or what for your game would be a perfect shot, and didn't even realize you did it because your muscles did it for you. You've trained them so well that they will react under pressure without you thinking about it. Because if you get up here in a pressure situation, that ball in your hand, and you're trying to think of exactly what you're going to do, you don't have a chance. You have to make your decisions before you step on the approach, put your fingers in that ball. Sitting on the bench is where you make your decisions. You decide there what you're going to do with your next shot. When you get up on the approach, put your hand on the ball, it's time to forget about everything and just go make the shot, because your muscles, if they're trained well enough, can handle the situation for you. Let's talk about, again, back to the physical side, practicing properly and getting into the mental side of the game with your practice. Now, as you get out there and you're practicing and you start to get tired, a lot of people say, well, that's the time to quit when you're tired because you're going to start to make bad shots. I feel just the opposite. When you start to get tired, that's when your mental discipline comes in. That's when you really have to work hard to make a good shot. And that's when you're really concentrating well. If you concentrate really well, when you really want to quit, you don't want to throw any more shots, and you get out there and throw that one extra shot or those 3 extra balls and say, I'm going to really make this a good shot because I'm going to concentrate before I pick the ball up. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to really make sure I do it right. That's when you're going to be able to do it under pressure. Again, going back to the mental side, it's very important that you realize that once you get to a certain stage in this game physically, the mental side is the most important thing that happens. From there on, that determines who's going to win the tournament, who's going to be able to get that strike when they need it in the league, or who's going to get that strike when they need it under pressure to win a tournament. That's the guy that prepared himself well physically, developed muscle memory, and didn't have to think about the shot. He knew before he put his hand on the ball, before he stepped up here, he could handle that situation because he has confidence in his training, in his physical ability to make a good shot under pressure. All right, now let's talk about the most common error in the sport of bowling. This is an error that's made not only by beginners, but by all bowlers. I'm talking about professionals, the best amateurs in the world. They all make this same one common error, and it's called rushing the foul line. By rushing the foul line, I mean you get your feet going so fast that you're ahead of the ball, it's still back here, and your foot's at the foul line. And what this does is cause you to muscle the ball or pull it through, and everything goes bad. The number one thing that's going to happen right out of the gate is you're going to drop the ball, because as you pull on it, it gets very heavy and it falls off your hand. The next bad thing that's going to happen is that you're going to turn sideways at the foul line, because the weight of the ball, as you pull it through, catch up with your fast feet, is going to pull you sideways. And as it pulls you sideways, the ball's going to go off across the lane. You'll never get it over your target. Obviously, that's not the way you want to bowl. You want to keep your feet slow for balance, for good coordination, and a good, consistent stroke with the bowling ball. Now, the way we do this, obviously, as I told you before, is to be nice and relaxed with your knees bent, nice and relaxed in the knees. Most of the weight on this hand with the bowling ball so that you can relax up in here in the shoulder area. And then as you take your first step, it's that push away that lets it relax and swing. Now, if you start poorly, here's where you get in trouble. If you start poorly, this is what makes you rush the foul line, right here. You take a big, quick first step. The ball doesn't catch up. It's still back here. So what we want to do, obviously, is start them together, nice and relaxed, like that. Again, here's the error. This is where it all starts. The first step, the most important step in the game of bowling. Start the ball and the foot together. Don't go like this and then start the ball. Start them together, nice and relaxed. And you'll always get to the foul line in good time if you let it swing from your shoulder, and you'll always be balanced to be able to get the ball to go where you want it to go and how you want it to go. And that's what makes for good scores.